Now CodeLens, it's a new feature in Visual Studio 2013 which helps us to understand three important things about our code. So when you're using CodeLens and when you're typing inside Visual Studio 2013, you will see that CodeLens is in action just above your method or your class. You can see over here, I've circled these three things over here, and these three things are nothing but they are output from CodeLens. CodeLens gives you three important information about your code. The first thing it talks about is reference. Now this reference actually tells us that basically when we change this part of the code here, what is the impact of these changes. So for example, you can see over here, if I'm changing this code or if I'm changing anything in this log method, there is one reference, which is going to get impacted. The second information CodeLens provides us is that has this method been unit tested or not. So for example, you can see over here just at the top of this method log, you can see 1/1 passing. So in other words, what he's saying is that yes, one time the test case has been ran on this log method and it has been passed. And the third information which CodeLens provides us, it tells us whether this code is latest or not. So you can see here this last section over here which states that this is not the latest code here. You can see this one change here. So what it is saying is that on the server, there is some code, and what you are having at this moment inside Visual Studio, it is not the latest code. So probably you would like to do a get latest, or probably you can click on this menu here and see that what the changes are. So CodeLens provides three important information. What is the impact of changes, if you do in this method or the class? Has this method or the class been tested or not? And the last one is the code, which you are modifying, is that the latest code or not? So let's go ahead and let's do a small demonstration of CodeLens, and let's see these three important features or these three important advantages of CodeLens. So let us go ahead and create a very simple console application here, and let's name this console application as console client. So there you can see my console client here. So now let's say we have a very simple class here called as the customer class. Okay. And let's say we also have a class here called as the exception class, or let's say error handling class. Okay. This error handling class actually helps you to handle errors. Okay. So what we'll do is in this error handling class, let's go ahead and create a very simple method here called as handle errors. Okay. Right. Now this error handling class, let's say that it's used inside the customer class, right? So you can see here now, first thing, you will see each one of these classes over here. It's either the class program or the class customer. You can see there is something called as references. I've just made the fonts a bit bigger here, so you can see there is something called as references. Okay. Now let's assume that this error handling class is used both in the client, in the console client class, and also in the customer class. So for example, here in the customer class, let's say I'm using the error handling class. So I'm going to say here error handling obj is equal to new error handling. So as I created the reference of this error handling class inside the customer class, you can see it is now saying that this error handling class is referenced in two places. Okay. Now keep watching this references over here. I'm going to go and use this error handling class also in my class program. So you can see here very quickly, watch this thing here. I've just circled my mouse, I'm circling my mouse over here. So watch this section. So let me again go and say, okay, I'm going to create error handling in the static void main as well. Okay. You can see now it is saying that it is referenced in 4 places. So now the next question is, what is the use of knowing that how many references this class is having? The biggest use of knowing the references upfront while coding is impact analysis. Okay. In other words, when I'm going and changing something in this error handling class here, I know that it's going to go and affect 4 places, right? And in case I'm interested to know which are those 4 places, I can go and click on this link over here. So now here it is saying, okay, it's going to go and affect over here. So if I double click here, you can see that it's going to go and affect here. Again, if I wish to see over here, it says it's going to go and affect here. So the first great thing, what CodeLens provides you is what is the impact analysis of the code changes what you make to a particular class or to a particular method. And in case you are an old person like me, who wants to see things visually, what you can do is you can click on this references link over here. And when you click on this references link, you can see that there is one more menu here saying show on code map. So click on show on code map, and you can see that he has popped up a very nice visual screen here saying that your error handling class is used in two places here. One is it is used inside this main function, right? You can see this one, the main function, and the other one is it is used here as an object inside the customer class. So this second thing here. So in case you are more of a visual guy, you can always go and click on that references tab here, and you can click on this show on code map. The next thing which CodeLens also informs you is that whether your method has been tested or not. So for example, you can see over here, I have written a very simple unit test here. I've created a unit test project here. Now let's say I'm going to go and test this error handling class over here. So let's say I go here, I create an object of the error handling class, right? And I perform some test here. So I call the log method, I do a assert, the handle method, I do a assert, and whatever it is, right? So now you can see first thing what will happen, because I have referenced the error handling class here, the 4 references has now changed to 6 references. So that is one part. And second, you can see even the handle method has 1 reference here. So this 1 reference is actually been called from here. So in the test method, because we are calling this handle method here, you can see there is 1 reference here. And also the good part, now you can see here, right after the reference, it is saying that the test case, it has not been executed even once. So you can see 0 of 1 test that call this method pass. So in other words, the test case has never been executed. So the second thing, what CodeLens actually provides us is that basically has this method been tested or not. So it tells now, 0 times the test case has been ran here. So let me go here. So you can just go and run the test case from here itself. If you remember, initially if you want to go and run your test case, you have to click on test here. You have to click on test explorer and then go to write and then run, right? A lot of steps over there. So now what you can do, you can click on this link over here, and from here itself you can just say run all. So you can see that he discovers the test, he runs the test, and now you can see it is saying here, okay, one time the test case was ran and one time it is passing, right? So the second thing, what CodeLens provides you is that how many times this test case was ran on this method, or how many times the tests were ran on this method, and how many times it passed and how many times it failed. And the final thing, what CodeLens provides you is that basically, do you have the latest code or not? So for example, now let's say you do some changes here and you are at some situation down the line, thinking that, this code here, is this the latest code or not? If it is not the latest code, what is the change between the server code and your code? So what you can do here, you can see this last section over here, this one change. So you can go and click on this change here. You can click on this link here. And if you double click on here, now you can see now he has popped up a compare screen here, and it is telling you, what, on the server, we don't have this comment called as changes, and here in the local you have this comment. So you can see here, I can clearly now see that this is what the changes and this is what the change is, the public keyword here, right? So again, the third thing, what CodeLens provides you is that do you have the latest code or not? So in other words, CodeLens provides me 3 things, and I can term these 3 things as lit. Okay, so L stands for the latest changes, right? I stands for impact analysis. So it tells me, how many references this code is having. And the last one, the T stands for testing. So in other words, how many times this method was tested, is it tested or not? And if it was tested, how many times it passed and how many times it failed. And for various reasons, let's say that you just don't want to have CodeLens enabled, what you can do is you can click over here, just click on the references section here. You can go to this CodeLens options from here, and you can go and disable CodeLens. So if you disable CodeLens, you can see that the CodeLens values are not seen inside your code. And in case you want to enable it back, you can go to the tools here, you can go to options back, and you can go to the text editor, go to all languages, go to CodeLens, and again you can go and enable CodeLens. So again, disabling and enabling CodeLens feature is very easy. Now after this good news of CodeLens, let me give you a mild bad news. The bad news is that, CodeLens is only available in Visual Studio Ultimate Edition. So in case you have a professional edition or express edition, you won't be able to avail this facility. So that's a mild bad news. Right, so I hope that you enjoyed this video. In this video, we were talking about CodeLens. We talked about the 3 important things what CodeLens can do. And we also saw that how we can enable and disable CodeLens. Thank you so much.